Good evening, everybody. We'll call this meeting of the Delta Township Board to order. With board members and guests, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Trustee Bowen.
Present.
Trustee Brewer.
Present.
Trustee Cascarella. Trustee Mohica.
Here.
Supervisor Fletcher.
Here.
Clerk Clark is present. Treasurer Fedowa.
Here. Trustee Cascarella again.
Trustee Cascarella.
Present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have a quorum. We have the agenda before us. Any additions or deletions? If not, a motion to approve.
So
Karen? Moved by Andrea and seconded by Karen. That we approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. You have an update on the water resource recovery facility in your packet, but I know you all just had a tour, so I'm sure you also had a verbal update on what's going on. Public comments. Not seeing any members of the public in the audience this evening. We'll continue down to the consent agenda. What's the pleasure of the board this evening on items on our consent agenda?
I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Support. It's been moved and supported. Is there any there's no discussion. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Trustee Trustee Brewer.
Yes.
Treasurer Fedowa.
Yes.
Trustee Mohica.
Yes.
Trustee Cascarella.
yes.
Trustee Bowen.
Yes.
Clerk Clark is yes. Supervisor Fletcher.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll continue down to the items of business, and we only have one action item tonight. It's Brian's recommendations for some Tri-County Planning Commission committee appointments, and he's pointing Ernie to a lot of things, to the Carts Committee, to the Groundwater Management Board, and the Greater Lansing Regional Committee for Stormwater. What's the pleasure of the board on that one? Beth.
Find them. Come on, here we go. I move that the Delta Township Board make the following appointments to the Tri-County Regional Planning Commission committees: Capital Area Regional Transportation Study Technical Committee, CARTS, Ernie West and Jacob Kleinhans as delegates, and Brian Reed and Gary Bozak as alternates. Number 2, Groundwater Management Board, Ernie West as the delegate and Jacob Kleinhans as alternate. Greater Lansing Regional Committee for Stormwater Management, Ernie West as the delegate and Jacob Kleinhans as alternate.
Is there support?
Support.
There is support. Any discussion? See none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Manager's report. Brian, what do you have for us tonight?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Ernie's always very thankful to serve on those committees, so I always appreciate it when he volunteers.
Did you really volunteer, Ernie?
Did you know before tonight, Ernie?
I did want to thank Ernie and Rick for the plant tour. So as you can see, a lot of work that's gone on, and really appreciate their efforts, as well as all the utility crew and the rest of engineering, because really keeping our, we have a $10 million water and sewer operation that is ongoing as well. So I have to keep the trains running on time with that while managing that large project, in addition to all the other projects that we have going on. So if any board members would like, at any time to see the progress or whatever, we're happy to take you out there. Otherwise, probably do the next organized tour in the spring once the weather breaks, and you'll see quite a bit of progress then. So, but like I said, if you're interested at any time, we can accommodate any additional tours. One item of note, we're working with the Board of Water and Light on a license agreement. Amazon's getting ready to put in a pathway along their property, which the site plan called for. On Kreitz Road, the Board of Water and Light has a small substation there. So Amazon has agreed to build the pathway through their property at their cost. We just need a license agreement. So we're working on that. So that'll be likely on the next board agenda, but there may be some work going on before that. It's not something that the board is worried about, so they've reviewed it, just getting a license agreement, which acts like an easement. Also have been working with the Looking Glass Fire Authority to renew their contract. That actually has been expired for a while and going year to year, but we've had interest and they've had interest in kind of extending that out. So that will be coming up on a future board meeting here very shortly. Just a reminder, employee appreciation is Thursday. So we'll be shutting down our buildings as possible around 3 p.m. And that will be at Sharp Park. And last but not least, Trustee Bowen had spoken to the Grand Ledge Superintendent, and we were able to invite him to speak at our meeting, our board meeting coming up on October 17th. So he'll be here just to give us an update on the Grand Ledge district and the stuff that they have going on, and introduce himself since he was named a permanent superintendent. So that's all I have, Mr. Supervisor, but happy to answer any questions of the board.
Any questions? Rob? Okay, great. Thanks, Brian. We'll continue down to the committee of the whole. We just have one item, a report on the Delta demographics. And we have Gary Bozick, our planning director, here to walk us through what the 2020 census told us about our township.
Good evening. The board expressed an interest in some updated demographic information for the township. So this is what I'm trying to provide you. I've pulled from several sources. You'll see a couple from the Census Bureau, one from LEAP, where a lot of the business people go to obtain their information about the township, and one from the township comp plan and the draft plan, and then some historical data from the Census Bureau for 2000 and 2010. Not sure exactly what the board was interested in terms of analysis of what the comparison is between 2010 and 2020. I just made some general observations in my memo. We had a 9.9, almost 10% increase in population from 2000 to 2010, and only a 2% increase from 2010 to 2020. We're getting older. The median age has increased about a year and a half from 41.4 to 42.7. The percentage of people 65 years and older is increased. In 2010, it was 15.9%, 16%, and we're up to 21% in 2020. So again, we are getting older. Racial distribution, really not a lot of significant change, pretty much the same between the 2 years, 2010, 2020. And in terms of housing units, renter occupied, owner occupied, 70% in 2010 owner occupied, slight decrease for 2020, 63%. And I think you can make some general characterizations. Most of the housing we built between 2010 and 2020 were rental units. So that makes sense in terms of change in percentage. Other than that, you can see by looking through the data here, some is tabular form. We have comparison to Eaton County and Township versus Eaton County as a whole. You have some graphic represented data, again, from the census. Depends on what you like to see, either bar graphs and charts rather than just tabular data. The comp plan is in a little more aesthetically pleasing form, so that'll have to be updated for 2020. These demographics in the comp plan were prepared before the 2020 census, so those will be updated when we finally adopt the plan. And then again, like I said, some historical data from 2000 and 2010 comparison. So I'd be happy to answer questions, happy to do a little deeper dive. If there's something specific the board wants to analyze in terms of demographics, we can do that for you. So it's whatever the pleasure of the board.
Thanks, Gary. We appreciate that. Questions for Gary? Dennis?
Thanks, Gary. not so much a question, but maybe an addendum to your information here. I looked at it and it didn't really get at what I was hoping to see. So I dug into it this afternoon. And of course, there's subsets of data behind all this with the Census Bureau. And, you know, if you had it all, it would be overwhelming and hard to read. But one of the things that I wanted to know is basically the number of households. What's the makeup of the households? How many households have school-age children as opposed to not? And there wasn't a direct data point that showed that, but there's an extrapolation that if you put two sets together, it sort of gets to it. And what I looked up was basically the number of households by type, and for Delta Township, households with one or more people under 18 years of age, that would be essentially school-age children, and constitutes 21% of the township households. We have 15,000 households in this township. Households with one or more people 60 and over. I didn't do 65 because even AARP thinks you're a senior at 50. So I said, no, let's just do 60. 43%. So you're right. It's an aging. Households living alone, 35%, over a third. That's a substantial number. The number of people, as you had here, by age categories, 65 and older was 21%. That's the same as the number of households are 18. So it's equal, basically. And that's 65. But if you're 60, it's 28% of the township. So 28%, just under a third, are 60 and over. I thought that was interesting. School-age children, population of K-12 basically is 4,238 school children in Delta Township. And that would be in those households that constitute 21% of our households. So that's the kind of demographic I was looking for. So I had to extract it myself, but I thought it was interesting and gives a perspective to me of what constitutes the township as to what we think it was. And this has changed a little bit since 2010. Not a lot, but a little bit, because I remember saying that I thought maybe 25% of the households had school-age children, and it's gone down a little bit. So another thing that popped out at me was basically the number of people in the township that are foreign born. It's around 10%.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting. If you look at the population increase, I don't know if that's a good indicator or not. It seems like the group of Asians is increasing faster than other demographics, Hispanics. But 10% is a significant amount that I'm kind of surprised about. So that's what popped out at me, and I just wanted to share those numbers with the board.
Any other questions for Gary?
I don't have questions, but I had a couple others I wanted to add to Dennis's. So yeah, the 65 plus is 21% of the population. So 1 out of every 5 people in Delta Township is over 65. I thought that was interesting. The foreign born residents, I saw that as well. And you can couple that with 11.8% speak language other than English at home. So that's a significant number. 8.5% of veterans. So we have a significant veteran population. 7.2% of residents live below the poverty line. But also persons per household, 2.16. I found that interesting that the typical household is closer to 2 people than your 2.5 kids with 2 adults. And then you couple that too with married couples are the largest group of residents, but then unrelated people. So people who are renting together who are unrelated was the second largest group of people. So those were the things that jumped out at me too, and just, where our priorities sit, who we address, how we help, what our vision is for all these people going forward.
Any other questions for Gary? Okay, great. Thank you. Gary. We appreciate your work.
Thank you.
put into that.
Thank you. Good data.
Next up is the closed session. Somebody like to make a motion?
Then we go into closed session.
Is there support?
Support.
There is support. Madam Clerk, please call the roll and going into closed session. Sure. Well, this would be nice.
Trustee Fedowa,
Yes.
excuse me, Treasurer Fedowa, my apologies. Trustee Brewer,
Yes.
Trustee Bowen,
Yes.
Trustee Cascarella,
Yes.
Trustee Mohica,
Yes.
Clerk Clark is yes, Supervisor Fletcher.
Yes. Okay, go we go. We'll go to the other room for the closed session. Open session now. Final public comment. Nobody's left in our audience for final public comment. Anything else from the board? See no further business before us. We are adjourned.